Ambassador floated in his crystal chamber, watching the blue and green planet on the main screen. His crystalline body hummed with curiosity as he studied the third world orbiting the yellow star. The Galactic Council had sent his team to check this solar system for new life forms, but what they found made his inner light flicker with worry. "Sir, the readings are impossible," said Science Officer L, her purple skin turning pale. "This planet should not have any life at all." Moved closer to the screen. The planet looked beautiful from space, with white clouds swirling over blue oceans and green lands, but the data told a different story. The computer showed numbers that made him afraid. "Tell me what you found," he said. Elle's 4 arms danced over her controls. "The gravity is 3 times stronger than any world with intelligent life. The atmosphere has poison gas that would kill most species in minutes. The weather systems create storms that could destroy our ships. And sir, the life forms down there." She paused, her voice shaking. "They have creatures that hunt and eat each other, giant beasts with teeth longer than my arm, tiny organisms that can kill with one bite. The oceans have monsters bigger than our warships." Felt cold inside his crystal body. In all his travels across the galaxy, he had never seen a world so dangerous. The Council had rules about planets like this. They called them Death Worlds, places where no intelligent life could possibly grow. "But sir," Elle continued, "we are picking up radio signals, complex ones, and we can see cities with lights at night. There is technology down there, advanced technology." The bridge went quiet. Every alien on the ship stared at the screen. How could anything smart enough to build cities survive on such a terrible world? "Show me these creatures," ordered. The screen changed to show the surface. The camera found a group of the planet's dominant species. They walked on 2 legs and had no fur or scales to protect them. Their skin looked soft and weak, but they were building something with metal and fire. "They call themselves humans," Elle said, "and sir, watch this." The screen showed a human jumping into a river. The water moved fast and crashed over sharp rocks. Any civilized being would die in such water, but the human swam through it, climbed out, and walked away like nothing happened. Another image showed humans running for fun, not running from danger, but running because they wanted to. Their bodies leaked water through their skin, something that should kill them from losing too much fluid. Instead, it helped them run farther than any other species could move. "They are impossible," whispered Navigation Officer, his tentacles curling with fear. "Look at their young ones." The screen showed small humans playing, but their games looked like combat training. They chased each other, pretended to fight, and threw objects at targets. What other species would teach as warfare skills, humans taught as fun for children? Watched for hours. He saw humans working with fire hot enough to melt metal. He watched them climb mountains that would crush most beings. He observed them eating plants and animals that would poison any civilized creature. "Sir, we need to contact the Council," said Communications Officer N. "This changes everything we know about life in the galaxy." Agreed, but he felt worried. The Council had strict rules about dangerous species. Some Council members believed that beings from Death World should be stopped before they could spread to other planets. They feared that creatures so used to violence and death might destroy galactic peace. "Open a channel to the Council," he ordered. The hologram of Council Leader Han appeared. The ancient being's golden skin showed his age and wisdom. "Ambassador, what have you found in the Outer Rim?" "Council Leader, we have discovered a Class 12 Death World with intelligent life. The species calls itself human. They have developed space travel and atomic energy." Han's golden color faded to pale yellow. "That is impossible. No life can reach intelligence on a Class 12 world." "The evidence is clear, sir. These humans have not only survived their world, they have grown strong from it. But, sir, they are unlike any species we have met. Their entire culture is built around struggle and conflict. Are they a threat to the galaxy? Looked at the screen showing humans. A group was working together to build a shelter. When one fell and got hurt, the others helped him. When food ran low, they shared what they had. Despite living on a world that tried to kill them every day, they cared for each other. I do not know, sir. They are dangerous, but not in the way we expected. They are dangerous because they do not fear what we fear. They see challenges where we see death. They find hope where we find only despair. Continue your observations, Han said, but do not make contact yet. We need to understand these creatures before we decide what to do with them. The channel closed, floated alone with his thoughts. His team continued watching the humans, learning their strange ways. They saw humans helping animals that could kill them. They watched humans explore places that no sane being would enter. They observed humans face terrible disasters and somehow find the strength to rebuild. Days passed. The humans detected their ship with primitive but clever sensors. Instead of hiding or running away, the humans sent a message. It was simple and direct. "Hello, we know you are there. We would like to meet you." Felt amazed. No species had ever responded to first contact with such calm confidence. Usually, new civilizations either cowered in fear or attacked with desperate fury, but these humans simply said hello. He knew this moment would change everything. The galaxy was about to meet its first Death World species. No one could predict what would happen when creatures who feared nothing joined the cosmic community. The blue and green planet spun below them, beautiful and deadly, home to the most dangerous and most fascinating species the galaxy had ever known. 3 months after first contact, Ambassador stood on the human space station called Unity. The name itself troubled him. Most species built their first space stations for defense or trade. Humans built theirs for bringing people together. Admiral Sarah walked beside him through the corridors. She moved with easy confidence, her steps steady even though the station spun to create artificial gravity. Most aliens needed special supports to walk in spinning environments, but humans seemed built for it. "We are excited to learn about your cultures," Admiral said. "Our scientists have so many questions about how life developed on peaceful worlds." His crystal body dimmed with confusion. "Peaceful worlds, but all worlds are peaceful. Your world is the strange one." Admiral stopped walking and looked at him with surprise. "You mean other planets do not have predators, no natural disasters, no diseases or dangerous weather?" "Of course not," said. "Life develops intelligence only when it has safety to think and grow. How could anyone learn science while fighting for survival?" The human woman smiled and noticed her teeth were pointed like a predator's. "Maybe we learned science because we were fighting for survival. When your life depends on understanding how things work, you get very good at figuring them out." They entered a large room where humans and aliens were meeting for the first time. Watched with growing alarm as the cultural exchange began. Dr. Earth's top alien expert, was showing a group of traders some human entertainment. The screen displayed something called a movie about humans fighting giant monsters. "This is fiction," Doctor explained. "We create stories about facing impossible enemies for fun." The scientists watched in horror as humans on screen threw themselves at creatures that could swallow them whole. One fainted when the movie humans used explosives to fight inside the monster's stomach. "You create this terror for pleasure?" asked Scientist L, his blue skin turning green with sickness. "Well, yes," Doctor said. "We like stories where people overcome great challenges. The bigger the challenge, the more exciting the story." Across the room, Human Commander Lisa Park was demonstrating something called sports to a group of crystalline scholars. She showed them videos of humans competing in various activities. "This is football," she explained, showing humans crashing into each other at high speed. "And this is boxing, where two people fight until one cannot continue. This is mountain climbing, where we scale dangerous peaks for the challenge. One of the crystalline beings began to vibrate with distress. But why do you hurt yourselves? Where is the purpose? Where is the gain? Commander Park thought for a moment. We get stronger. We learn what we can do when everything seems impossible. We discover that we are tougher than we thought. The most disturbing discovery came from the youth cultural exchange. Human children, ages 10 to 16, were showing alien younglings their games and activities. Watch 12-year-old Tommy teach a group of young men how to play something called tag. The rules seemed simple. One person chased the others and tried to touch them. But the human children ran at speeds that would injure most adult aliens. They jumped over obstacles and climbed structures with no fear of falling. "Is this not dangerous?" asked young Al, a child whose parents were diplomats. "Sure," Tommy said with a grin. "That is what makes it fun. Want to try capture the flag? It is even better." The alien children tried to play, but they moved so slowly and carefully that the humans grew bored. Finally, 10-year-old Emma Watson suggested they play a gentle game called hide and seek. Even this simple game revealed disturbing differences. The human children hid in places that would terrify adult aliens: small dark spaces, high ledges, areas where they could barely fit. They seemed to enjoy the feeling of being trapped in dangerous spots. Doctor noticed the aliens getting upset and tried to explain. "Human children need to learn to take risks. Our world taught us that safety is something you earn, not something that is given." "But childhood should be safe," protested Doctor, a child development expert from the Peaceful Garden system. "Young minds need security to grow properly." "Our young minds grew up solving life-or-death problems," Doctor replied. "Maybe that is why we got so good at solving problems." The most shocking moment came during a demonstration of human physical abilities. Commander Park volunteered to show the aliens what humans could do. She lifted weights that would crush most alien bones. She ran on a machine until sweat poured from her skin, something that looked like she was bleeding water. She held her breath underwater for minutes while swimming laps. "This is normal human exercise," she explained while barely breathing hard. "We do this every day to stay healthy." The aliens watched in stunned silence. What humans called normal exercise looked like torture to them. Later that evening, met privately with Admiral in her office. The walls showed pictures of Earth mountains, oceans, forests, and deserts that looked beautiful but deadly. "Ambassador," Admiral said, "I can see our cultural exchange is causing concern. Are we too different to join galactic society?" Floated quietly for a long moment. "Admiral, in one day I have watched your people celebrate violence, enjoy danger, and teach children to seek risk. Your entertainment would be classified as psychological warfare against most species." Admiral's face grew serious. "Are you asking us to change who we are?" "I do not know what the Council will decide," answered honestly. "Some members already want to quarantine your system. They believe Death World species are too dangerous to mix with civilized beings." "And what do you believe?" Looked at the pictures of Earth again. Despite all the danger, it was undeniably beautiful. "I believe you are the most terrifying and fascinating species I have ever met. You have turned a death world into a garden. You have made weakness into strength. You scare us because you do not fear what should be feared." Admiral nodded slowly. "Fear can be useful, Ambassador, but it can also prevent you from doing what needs to be done. Maybe the galaxy needs people who do not know when to give up." As returned to his ship that night, he wondered if Admiral was right. The galaxy had been peaceful for thousands of years, but peace, he was beginning to understand, was not the same thing as safety. Something was coming. He could feel it in the quantum fluctuations his instruments barely detected. When that threat arrived, the galaxy might need creatures who smiled at the impossible and charged toward danger with hope in their hearts. The humans, it seemed, were exactly those creatures. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began with sirens wailing across the great chamber. Ambassador floated quickly to his position as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in panic. Council leader Han's golden skin had turned nearly white with fear. Fellow beings, we face the greatest threat in recorded history. 3 star systems have gone completely dark. No light, no energy, no life. They have been consumed by something we do not understand. The massive screen showed where the N and morphic civilizations once thrived. Now those areas of space showed only empty darkness, as if someone had erased entire solar systems from existence. "Show them the recordings," Han commanded. The screen changed to show the last transmission from Prime, home to 12 billion beings. The camera showed normal city life until the sky began to darken. Then creatures appeared, things that looked like living shadows with hungry mouths full of crackling energy. "They came from nowhere," the panicked reporter said. "They are eating everything, the buildings, the ground, even the light itself. They consume energy from matter and turn it into nothing. We cannot fight them. We cannot hide from them. They are." The transmission ended in static as the shadow creatures swarmed over the camera. "We call them the Devourer Swarm," said Fleet Admiral and the Council's military leader. "They exist in some form of quantum state that lets them phase through solid matter while draining energy directly from atomic bonds. Our weapons pass right through them, but they can touch us whenever they choose." The chamber filled with frightened sounds from dozens of species. Had never heard such terror in the Council before. "How fast do they move?" asked Representative L from the Peaceful Gardens. "They consumed 3 star systems in 6 days, Admiral N replied. "At this rate, they will reach the Council core worlds in 4 months. We have tried everything: energy weapons, kinetic strikes, even quantum disruptors. Nothing works. They seem to feed on the energy we use to fight them." "What are our options?" Han asked. Admiral N's blue skin turned pale. "Evacuation of the outer rim systems. We move everyone to the galactic core and hope the swarm burns itself out after consuming the outer regions." The chamber erupted in panic. Thousands of worlds in the outer rim held trillions of beings. Moving them all would be impossible. Most would be left behind to face the hungry darkness. Then a new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. "Council leader, request permission to address the assembly." Everyone turned to see Admiral Sarah walking forward with 3 other humans. She moved with that strange human confidence, showing no fear even as the galaxy's greatest minds talked about impossible enemies. "The human delegation was not scheduled to speak," said Secretarius. "With respect," Admiral replied, "humanity requests the chance to help defend the galaxy we have just joined." Murmurs of doubt and fear rippled through the chamber. Most council members still viewed humans as barely civilized barbarians from a death world. Council leader Han looked at Admiral for a long moment. "Very well, but understand that our greatest military minds have already concluded this threat cannot be fought." Admiral walked to the center of the chamber. Behind her, Doctor and Commanders Lisa Park and stood ready with data tablets. "Honored Council, we have studied the recordings of these Devourer attacks. We believe they can be fought, but not with traditional methods." "Impossible," Admiral N said. "Our quantum analysis shows they exist in a state that makes them immune to all known weapons." "Yes, sir," Admiral agreed. "But humans have experience fighting enemies that cannot be defeated with normal methods. Our world taught us to find new ways when old ways fail." She gestured to Doctor, who activated his tablet. The screen showed human military equipment, crude-looking devices compared to galactic technology. "The Devourers feed on energy," Doctor explained. "Your weapons use pure energy, so you are giving them food while trying to hurt them. Human weapons work differently." The The screen showed what humans called kinetic weapons devices that threw solid objects at high speed without using energy fields. "These bullets are just metal," Doctor continued. "No energy signature for the devourers to consume. They can phase through force fields, but can they phase through solid matter traveling at 3,000 meters per second? Even if your primitive projectiles work," Admiral N said with obvious doubt, "the swarm has millions of entities. You cannot possibly kill them all with such simple weapons." Commander stepped forward. "Admiral, humanity has fought impossible numbers before. On our world, we developed something called asymmetric warfare. When the enemy is too big to fight directly, you change the rules of fighting." "Explain," Han commanded. Commander smiled, and her predator teeth made several aliens step backwards. "We do not fight the swarm. We fight their source. Every swarm has a center, a controlling intelligence. Cut off the head and the body dies." "The quantum analysis shows the swarm acts as one entity," said Science Officer Elfram's team. "But they are spread across multiple light years. There is no single center to attack." "Actually there is," Doctor said. He activated new data on the screen. "We analyzed the attack patterns. The swarm always consumes systems in a specific order, highest energy sources first, then lower ones. That means something is directing them, something with intelligence." The screen showed a pattern the alien scientists had missed. The devourer swarm was not randomly eating everything. It was following a plan. "We believe there is a central nexus," Admiral said. "A core entity that controls the others through quantum entanglement. Find that nexus and we can end this threat." "Even if you are correct," Admiral N said, "how do you plan to reach this nexus? It would be at the center of the swarm, surrounded by millions of devourers." Admiral looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces filled with fear and doubt. "The same way humans have always reached impossible places. We go straight through the middle, we hit hard, and we do not stop until the job is done." "That is suicide," whispered Representative. "Maybe," Admiral admitted. "But on Earth, we learned that sometimes the choice is between a brave death and a coward's death. If we are going to die anyway, we prefer to die fighting." The chamber fell silent. The idea of deliberately flying into the center of an enemy swarm horrified every civilized being present. Council Leader Han's golden skin slowly returned to its normal color. "Admiral, are you saying humanity volunteers to lead an attack against this threat?" "Yes, sir. Humanity volunteers to do what it takes to save the galaxy." Watched from his position as the council debated. Half the members thought the humans were insane. The other half wondered if insanity might be exactly what they needed. As the vote was taken, realized something that chilled his crystal core. The humans were not volunteering to save the galaxy out of duty or honor. They were volunteering because they actually believed they could win. Deathworld creatures, it seemed, did not understand the concept of impossible odds. Captain gripped the controls of her ship, the UES Defiance, as the human fleet approached the edge of devourer space. Behind her flew 50 human warships and 200 support vessels, tiny numbers compared to the galactic fleets, but every ship was crewed by Deathworld survivors. "Contact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant from the sensor station. "I am reading quantum signatures unlike anything in our databases. The space ahead is almost completely dark." Through the viewport, could see where normal space ended and devourer territory began. It looked like a wall of absolute darkness, as if someone had painted black across the stars themselves. "All ships, this is Captain," she said over the fleet communication system. "Remember, we are not here to win a fair fight. We are here to do something no civilized species would attempt. We are going to charge straight into hell and punch it in the face." Laughter came back over the communication's actual human laughter as they approached certain death. The aliens monitoring from their safe distance could not understand how any species could find humor in such a moment. Ambassador watched from the Council observation ship, positioned far from the battle zone. His crystal body flickered with nervous energy as he studied the human fleet. "They are really going to do it," whispered Science Officer L. "They are flying directly into the swarm. The readings are showing millions of devourer entities ahead," added Navigation Officer. "How can 50 ships fight millions of enemies?" Before could answer, the human fleet crossed into devourer space and everything changed. The devourers appeared like a living wave of darkness, flowing toward the human ships. They moved without sound through the vacuum, their shadow bodies crackling with stolen energy from consumed worlds. Then the humans opened fire. Instead of elegant energy beams, the human ships shot crude metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The kinetic rounds punched through devourer bodies that had phased through every other weapon. Dark entities shrieked soundlessly as they were torn apart by simple bullets moving faster than thought. "Target the big ones first," commanded. "Those cluster formations look like they might be controlling the smaller ones." The human ships moved in patterns no civilized military would use. They did not maintain safe distances or protective formations. Instead, they flew straight into the thickest groups of enemies, guns blazing from every direction. Doctor, aboard the science vessel UES Discovery, was monitoring quantum readings while the battle raged around him. "I am picking up something interesting. When we destroy the larger devourers, the smaller ones become confused and disorganized." "Copy that. All ships, focus fire on the big ugly ones. Let the little ones get confused while we deal with their bosses." But the swarm was learning too. The devourers began avoiding the kinetic rounds, phasing in and out of normal space to dodge the projectiles. Soon the human weapons were hitting empty space as often as targets. "They are adapting," reported Weapons Officer Park. "We need a new strategy." Smiled with Predator confidence. "Then we give them something they cannot adapt to. All ships prepare for ramming speed." The aliens watching from safety could not believe what they heard. Ramming meant using ships as weapons, flying them directly into enemies at maximum velocity. It was suicide on a scale beyond comprehension. "Captain," Lieutenant said quietly, "ramming the swarm will mean certain death for any crew that tries it." "I know," replied. "Pass the word to all ships. Anyone who is not willing to ram should fall back now. No shame in living to fight another day." Not a single human ship fell back. The first ramming attack came from Commander Sarah aboard the UES Thunderbolt. She aimed her ship at the largest devourer cluster and pushed her engines past the safety limits. "For Earth and for the galaxy," she transmitted as her ship accelerated to incredible speed. The collision created a burst of light that briefly pushed back the darkness. Commander's ship and 300 devourers vanished in an explosion that sent shockwaves through quantum space. "It worked," Doctor called out excitedly. "The kinetic impact at near-light speed is disrupting their quantum coherence. They cannot phase through something moving that fast." More human ships followed Commander's example. One after another, human captains flew their vessels into devourer formations. Each sacrifice destroyed hundreds of enemies and opened gaps in the swarm. But the greatest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Doctor had been studying samples of Earth bacteria during the voyage, trying to find any biological weapon that might work against quantum entities. "I think I found something," he transmitted urgently. "Some of our gut bacteria feed on energy at the quantum level. If I modify them properly, they might be able to consume the devourers from the inside." "Do it," replied while steering her ship through a cloud of shadow creatures. "We need every advantage we can get." Doctor worked frantically as the battle raged around him. He modified common Earth bacteria to process quantum energy instead of normal nutrients. Within hours, He had created a biological weapon from the most basic life on Earth. "Launching bacterial warheads," he announced. "If this works, the Devourers are about to get very sick." The modified bacteria spread through space, invisible and harmless to normal matter. But when they encountered Devourers, they began feeding on the quantum energy that held the shadow creatures together. The effect was immediate. Devourers began dissolving as the bacteria consumed them from within. What had been an unstoppable swarm became a plague of hungry microorganisms turning against their hosts. "The swarm is breaking apart," reported communications officer, "but there is still something big moving toward us from the center of their territory." The screens showed a massive shape emerging from the deepest darkness, the Devourer Nexus, a creature the size of a small moon that pulsed with the energy of consumed worlds. "That is the source," said grimly. "The queen or king or whatever controls this whole swarm. Take that down and we end this war." But the Nexus was protected by the remaining Devourers, millions of them forming defensive screens around their leader. Commander James Park aboard the UES Vengeance studied the situation and made a decision that would be remembered for generations. "I am going to make a run at the Nexus," he transmitted. "My ship's nuclear warheads might be enough to crack that thing open, but I will have to get close to make sure." "James, that is a suicide mission. You will never make it through those defenses." "Maybe not," Commander Park replied. "But we did not come here to maybe succeed. We came here to do whatever it takes." Watched as her old friend accelerated his ship toward the Nexus. The Devourers swarmed toward him, but James had one advantage they had not expected. He was not afraid. Commander Park flew his ship through formations that would have terrified any sane being. He used his remaining kinetic weapons to punch through defensive lines, then switched to ramming smaller Devourers to clear his path. "Tell my family I did something that mattered," he transmitted as his ship reached the Nexus. The explosion lit up the entire battle zone. Commander Park's nuclear warheads detonated inside the Devourer Nexus, and the quantum shockwave spread outward in all directions. Across the battle zone, Devourers began to collapse. Without their controlling Nexus, they lost cohesion and dissolved back into empty space. The hungry darkness that had consumed entire star systems faded like smoke in sunlight. Floated in the silence that followed, watching the stars reappear in space that had been dark for weeks. "All ships report status," she called. Of the 50 human warships that had entered Devourer space, only 12 were still operational. But they had accomplished something the greatest galactic civilizations thought impossible. They had won. Ambassador watched from the observation ship as the human survivors regrouped. His crystal body glowed with something between admiration and terror. "They actually did it," Elle whispered. "They destroyed an unstoppable enemy by refusing to stop." As the human fleet prepared to return to normal space, transmitted a message that would echo through galactic history. "Council Command, this is Captain. Devourer threat neutralized. The galaxy is safe. Humans returning home." Simple words from a death world species that had just saved everyone else by doing the impossible. 6 months after the Devourer War ended, Ambassador stood before the largest gathering in Galactic Council history. Representatives from every known civilization filled the Great Chamber, and millions more watched through quantum broadcasts across the galaxy. Today would change everything. Council leader Han's golden skin glowed bright with ceremony as he activated the main display. The screen showed images from the battle against the Devourer's human ships charging into impossible darkness, crews sacrificing themselves to save worlds they had never seen. "Fellow beings," Han began, "we gather to recognize a species that has redefined what we thought possible. 6 months ago, we faced extinction. Today, we live because creatures from a death world chose to die for us." The chamber fell silent as more images played. Commander James Park's final transmission as he flew into the Nexus. Captain organizing evacuation of Devourer survivors. Doctor sharing his biological weapon research freely with all galactic scientists. The human species asked for nothing in return, Han continued. They fought for beings they barely knew, on worlds they had never visited, for a galaxy that had questioned whether they belonged among civilized peoples. Floated near the front of the chamber, watching Admiral Sarah as she sat with the human delegation. Her face showed the same calm confidence she had displayed when volunteering for the impossible mission. Even now, surrounded by the praise of an entire galaxy, she seemed more interested in the technical displays than the ceremony. Ambassador of the Crystalline Collective will now present his formal report on the human species, Han announced. Moved to the center of the chamber. His crystal body resonated with carefully controlled harmonics as he began the speech that would define humanity's place in galactic society. Honored representatives, I have spent 1 year studying the human species. When I first encountered them, I feared they were too dangerous for civilized space. I was wrong. They are not too dangerous for civilization. Civilization was not dangerous enough for the threats we face. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Devourer War had taught everyone that the galaxy was not as safe as they had believed. We feared the humans because they survived hell, continued. We should have realized that surviving hell makes one capable of fighting demons. The display showed human children playing in Earth's deadly environment, laughing as they faced challenges that would terrify adult aliens. Then it shifted to show those same humans as adults, calmly discussing battle strategies against an enemy that consumed stars. The humans teach us that strength comes not from avoiding hardship, but from embracing it. They show us that hope is not something you feel when times are easy, but something you choose when everything seems lost. Captain, one of only 12 ship captains to survive the Devourer assault, stepped forward when gestured to her. Captain, will you share what you learned from fighting an unstoppable enemy? Looked around the chamber filled with alien faces. We learned that unstoppable is just another word for not yet stopped. Every problem has a solution if you are willing to pay the price to find it. And what price were humans willing to pay? Everything, replied simply. We were willing to give everything because the alternative was losing everything anyway. When you come from a world that tries to kill you every day, you learn that the only real choice is between dying on your feet or dying on your knees. The chamber erupted in applause, something that had never happened during a formal council session. Beings who had evolved on peaceful worlds cheered for warriors from a death world. When the noise died down, Han made the announcement that everyone was waiting for. The Galactic Council unanimously approves the creation of a new position, Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense. This position will have authority over all military forces during times of crisis and will be responsible for preparing our defenses against future threats. Admiral Sarah stood as Han continued. Admiral, the Council offers you this position. Will you accept the responsibility of defending our galaxy? Admiral walked to the center of the chamber. I accept, but only with conditions. Human military doctrine requires shared command and cooperative planning. I will not rule over galactic defenses. I will work with them. What do you propose? Han asked. Joint training programs where alien crews learn human tactics and human crews learn alien technology. We combine your advanced science with our practical experience. We teach each other until every species can defend itself and help defend others. Doctor stepped forward. We also propose sharing all our research freely. The bacterial weapons that helped defeat the Devourers, the kinetic weapon designs, the ramming tactics, everything that worked becomes available to everyone. The gesture stunned the assembled aliens. Most species guarded their military secrets carefully. Humans were offering to give away every advantage they had earned. "Why?" asked Representative L from the peaceful gardens. "Why share everything that makes you powerful?" Admiral smiled. "Because real power comes from making your allies stronger, not from keeping them weak. A galaxy where everyone can fight is a galaxy where everyone survives." Over the following weeks, the changes began immediately. Human military academies opened on dozens of worlds. Alien species that had never imagined combat began learning concepts like acceptable losses, strategic sacrifice, and victory through determination. The most remarkable change was in how the younger generation of aliens began to think. Students who had been raised to avoid all risks started asking questions about courage and challenge. Young Al, the in-diplomat's child who had met humans during first contact, approached his parents with a shocking request. "I want to attend the Human Military Academy," he said. "I want to learn how to be brave." His parents were horrified, but other N families began making similar requests. Across the galaxy, young aliens who had grown up hearing stories of human courage wanted to learn what humans knew. The cultural exchange worked both ways. Humans learned alien technologies that made their weapons more effective and their ships more durable. They discovered alien healing methods that could help warriors recover from injuries that would have been permanent. But the most important change was in how the galaxy thought about threats. Before the humans, galactic civilization had responded to danger by retreating and hoping it would go away. Now they prepared for danger by training to meet it head-on. Found himself appointed as the first alien-human cultural liaison, helping other species understand human methods without losing their own identities. One day, while visiting a joint training facility, he watched human instructors teaching crystalline warriors how to use kinetic weapons. The sight of his own people learning to fight still seemed strange, but he could not deny the results. "How do you feel about what we have become?" asked Captain, who was visiting the facility to observe the training. Watched a young crystalline soldier successfully hit a target after weeks of practice. "We have become something new, not human, but not the same as we were before. We have learned that peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the strength to face conflict when it comes." "And when it comes again?" asked. "When it comes again," replied, "we will be ready, all of us together." As the years passed, the legend of the Devourer War grew throughout the galaxy. But the real victory was not in the battle itself. The real victory was in how a galaxy of peaceful species learned to find courage they never knew they had. Children across hundreds of worlds grew up hearing stories of the Death World warriors who saved everyone. But more importantly, they grew up learning that they too could be heroes when heroes were needed. The humans had not just saved the galaxy from the Devourers. They had saved it from the fear that made civilizations wait helplessly for death instead of fighting for life. In the end, the greatest gift the Death World species gave to galactic civilization was not their weapons or their tactics. It was the simple, revolutionary idea that impossible things become possible when enough people refuse to accept defeat. The galaxy would never be the same, and everyone agreed that was exactly as it should be.